Hi, PerspectiveWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday, February 18th. A cold front is approaching the mid-Atlantic region. Looks like it could produce some shower activity from this afternoon into early tonight in the I-95 corridor region, for example. Not a significant precipitation event, however. It'll be mild today, up in the 50s for the most part. It looks like in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, and then it turns colder for the second half of the work week. Some 5 to 10 degrees colder on Wednesday, and then even colder. The coldest 2 days of the week look like they'll be on Thursday and Friday in the mid-Atlantic region. Meanwhile, there'll be lots of moisture across the southeastern U.S. It looks like it stays just to the south and east of D.C., potentially causing some accumulating snow across places like the eastern Carolinas, anywhere really in the Carolinas, all the way up to southeastern Virginia later in the week. They'll have the combination of that colder air and the moisture. Again, it looks like right now that moisture does not make it up to D.C. or Philadelphia. Let's take a look at the current surface map. As has been typically the case this winter season, we have a couple of cold days, then a warm up before the next precipitation event resulting in rain, and then a chill down afterwards, leading to a couple more cold and dry days, at least here in the mid-Atlantic regions, I-95 corridor area from D.C. to New York City. High pressure over northern New England, and it was pretty chilly last couple of days, but this is continuing to move to the north and east, and milder air will flow up the eastern seaboard. Again, we should reach 50 degrees in most areas, perhaps a 55 down across D.C. as an example. Here's that next cold frontal system. Not a significant rain event. We'll take a look at the radar in a moment. Continues to press to the east over the next several hours. Best chance for showers in D.C., Philly, New York City, mid-afternoon, late afternoon into the early evening. Again, nothing significant. Mild with the chance of showers here later on today, and then it turns colder in the overnight hours. Will turn somewhat colder on Wednesday, but then even colder air arrives for Thursday and Friday. Well, here's a look at the U.S. radar map as of this morning from the University of Wisconsin weather website. Some shower activity up across northwestern Pennsylvania and pretty much scattered around the Ohio Valley all the way down into the lower Mississippi Valley, and all of this basically moving east to southeast. Again, should produce some shower activity in the D.C. to New York City corridor later today, early tonight. Not a significant rain event, but notice a lot of moisture down here across the Gulf state. That's really meanders around over the next couple of days and ultimately could result in a snow accumulation in parts of the Carolinas all the way up to southeastern Virginia. We'll talk about that over the next few minutes. Well, as any snow lover knows, if you live in Philadelphia, New York City, Washington, D.C. area, it's been a very frustrating winter, and the only thing that can make it more frustrating is if we actually have the cold air arriving, and yet the moisture stays just to our south and east, and indeed, it looks like that may happen with accumulating snow possible in the Carolinas later in the week, maybe southeastern Virginia as well, that close to the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor, but it looks like it stays just to the south and east. Continue to monitor that over the next couple of days, but let's go forward here with the 0Z GFS model run. Cold frontal system sliding to the south and east from the Ohio Valley. We'll have some shower activity this afternoon into the evening. All the snow is confined to well upstate Pennsylvania and the interior section of the northeast U.S., as has been the case for much of the winter season here. And here we go. Here's some showers by later today into the early part of tonight. Rain showers. It'll be mild ahead of it. Temperatures in the 50s. And colder air moves in by late tonight. Definitely a difference in temperatures. Some 5 to 10 degrees colder on Wednesday compared to this afternoon. And that's not even the coldest of the air that's coming our way here. Let's keep pushing forward into a Wednesday evening, and notice a strong Canadian cold high pressure system over the northern plains that continues to funnel in colder and colder air over the next 2 or 3 days, and looks like again the coldest days of the week in the I-95 corridor region will be on Thursday and Friday, and it could potentially be setting up right here for a nice snow event for the Carolinas, even into southern Virginia, that close. And again, we'll continue to monitor this over the next couple of days. This is the forecast map for Thursday evening, again with accumulations possible from southern Virginia across North Carolina, perhaps even into upstate South Carolina as that high pressure area moves to the east. Again, the coldest couple of days here look like Thursday and Friday, with high temperatures in the big cities, D.C., Philly, New York City, confined to the 30s for Thursday afternoon and Friday afternoon. Well, let's wrap up with a couple of teleconnection indices. We talked about this last week. There is some hope that the pattern will improve in the eastern U.S. and the central U.S. at the end of February going into early March. Of course, we're moving later and later into the winter season, so the negative there is that you require even colder and colder air relative to normal as we head into the latter part of February into the early part of March. Right now, the normal high temperature, the average high temperature in Philly, for example, is about 44 degrees. So you have to get colder than normal air, at least 10 to 15 degrees colder than normal as we head into the latter days of the month of February. But there are a couple of positive signs here, and we'll see if this evolves into anything significant. The NAO, we talk about this a lot, definitely is trending downward over the next week or two, and that sometimes results in a coastal storm, an East Coast type of storm. It is something that is required or preferred, makes it more favorable for snow in the eastern U.S. because it allows for the possibility of some sustained cold air masses. We definitely have some cold shots coming over the next couple of weeks, but whether they're sustained, more sustained than they have been in the past couple of weeks, will partly depend on the North Atlantic oscillation. This is kind of reflective of the pressure pattern in the North Atlantic, and as it goes negative, that generally tends to be more favorable for more sustained air in the eastern part of the U.S. It doesn't quite get into negative territory, but it's something we'll monitor over the next week to 10 days or so as it does slide from more highly positive numbers to low positive numbers, at least to the neutral point, it looks like, down the road in the month of February. Finally, one other slightly positive sign here for the central and eastern U.S. for a colder pattern come late February, early March, is another teleconnection index called the EPO, Eastern Pacific Oscillation. As we talked about last week, Alaska has had a very cold winter season, but that cold air has largely been bottled up in that part of the world, and has occasionally there have been cold air outbreaks. Pieces of that cold air have broken off, coming down into the central and eastern U.S., but generally only lasting a couple of days or so. And part of the reason it's been bottled up there is this EPO, this Eastern Pacific Oscillation, which reflects pressure pattern over the northern Pacific, has been in a positive phase. In a positive phase, that generally results in a trough over Alaska, low pressure over Alaska, and higher pressure to the south. The combination of the counterclockwise flow of air around that low to the north and clockwise flow of air around the high to the south has promoted really a fast-moving jet stream from west to east, from the Pacific into the west coast of Canada and the western coast of the northwest U.S., and that has kind of acted to bottle the cold air up in over Alaska and far northwestern Canada. The EPO, much like the NAO, is definitely forecasted to drop, at least from high positives to low positives, perhaps even in a negative territory at the end of the month of February. That too is a more favorable sign. Alaska may turn warmer, but the central and eastern U.S. turn colder, and we'll see if these two teleconnection indices really come to fruition, because there have been some false starts over the past few weeks. But again, certainly are signs for some cold air outbreaks into the central and eastern U.S. over the next few weeks. Whether they result in snow, we'll just have to wait and see. But there are some positive signs here, at least from the teleconnection indices. That's it for now. For PerspectiveWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.